Hi, this is Jake at Canadian Cutting Edge. Today we're going to take a look at the Ganzo G720. It's a big knife that is so well designed that it fits just about any hand out there, even on smaller folks, even a small lady. I've seen one reviewer, a small lady, that really likes this thing. It just fits her hand really well. It comes in orange, black, and a military green, olive green kind of color, that is. It's a big, heavy beast of a knife with this axis lock, and it just works and works and works all day long. Come on down to the tabletop with me, and we'll take a good close look at this thing. Okay, so here we are with this knife. I must say, I don't know why I keep saying this. I really do mean it. This is one of my favorite Ganzos. Oh, I need to make a correction. On a lot of my videos, I say Ganzo. I've asked them for the pronunciation. I wrote in, and it's Ganzo. You know, like can or tan or man or fan or ban or any other word that is consonant an says an. I don't know why I assumed that this was Gonzo. I guess it's probably the Muppet that I'm thinking of. Ganzo. Ganzo makes great knives, and this one is no exception. This is a big beast. Some people are going to find the weight just a bit over 7 ounces to be a little much. Not me. I find it to be just great. That's right around 200 grams. You know, a fair bit less than half a pound, but it's a beast. And the weight behind it helps it work really well, including the flat grind that's almost full. It just has a little bit on the top here that it doesn't do. That flat grind lets this weight work really well for slicing. Great big, huge belly here, coming back to a nice flat section. And you hold the knife, and it can do just about anything for you. You can hold it, you know, just like this. I generally hold it with this kind of grip. And backhand, this knife fits the hand really, really well. The glass breaker that's on the back is quite shallow, so it doesn't stick out that far from the edge of the blade, which makes it quite comfortable to hold. Put your thumb right over the thing, and there's no hot spot there at all, unless you had a particularly bony thumb. You might find that a little uncomfortable, but I can't see anybody finding that uncomfortable for the backhand. Speaking of the glass breaker, it is also the screw that holds the clip. It's got 4 holes there. If you're really careful, you could get needle nose pliers and just grab the outside edges of the round thing and begin to loosen it up. You would do that if you want to swap it to the right side. So this clip is as deep carry as you can make a clip be, and it's strong. It holds really well. And as I said, you can swap it right to left. If I hold it this way, you can see exactly sort of how it's shaped. So you can put quite a thick layer of fabric in there. So your big, heavy winter jeans, this thing will even, you know, the ones that have flannel in them, this will work with those as well as just regular jeans. You'd probably want to use jeans with this. Lighter pants are going to find probably some droop in the pocket because of the weight of this knife. It is a knife that you do have to reckon with the weight of. And as soon as you plan for the weight, it becomes, I think, an asset for this knife. It's got these steel liners that are not skeletonized at all. I assume that if Ganzo chooses to redo this knife and do some changes to it, skeletonizing the liners would be a good choice to do to help give that thing a little bit less weight. The G10 scales have these lines coming through. They seem to radiate together to a point somewhere out here. And, you know, they don't offer any oddness. How do I want to say it? They feel good in the hand. Some people I've seen on some channels that I've looked at some reviews find it to be a little uncomfortable. If you find this a little uncomfortable, just take some really fine sandpaper and go over the surface of it 3 or 4 times. Just do a very little bit and then, play with it for a while. Make sure that you haven't gone too far. It's easy to sand too far and too fast over G10 because sandpaper works really efficiently on it. So the scales are mirror images of each other. And then we've got some G10 on the back here. So the back spacer, so it's pretty much closed except for right here. It's easy enough to clean in there. If you can, there you go. You can see down to the bottom. If I hold the light, the light's coming from my right mostly. I've got my big living room window over there. So you can look in there and it'll be easy to clean that out if you need to. It's all Torx construction everywhere. So that's the only screwdrivers you're going to need. It's 2 different sizes. It looks like T5 and T7 or 8. I don't know for sure because I just have a complete set from T5 through T10, and that suits me for just about every knife. Nice lanyard hole. It's a tunnel because it goes through the G10 backspacer, so it's really easy to feed paracord through there. It's a big hole, so you can fit a nice, thick, heavy lanyard into this knife. We come to this huge choil at the front. I really like that choil because it protects your hand. If you were to strike something really hard accidentally, your hand is going to have a difficult time sliding out. What I mean is you've got a really good purchase, and that's largely due to this big choil here, a nice fat swell, and then another dip back here for the end of your hand to sit in. And it just offers a really good grip. There's a big swell, not big, there's a nice swell on the back of the spine there as well. And, like I said in the intro, it seems to fit just about any size hand except for the ultra small. And if you had an XL hand in a glove, it might be, I think it'll still work, but it'll not fit as well as it does for everybody else. Access lock, I showed you in the intro how well it works. It was this smooth right from the factory, and I just like it. We are coming up to my favorite part, the blade. Of course, without a blade, a knife is nothing. It's got some nice gentle jimping on the thumb ramp because you really don't need much. Your hand is really secure in here, as I mentioned earlier. So it's got some jimping up there that your thumb can fit into really nice if you want to hold it that way. And it works really, really well for that. And then you've got this flat spine coming all the way till you're like 1/2 inch from the end, and then it seems to narrow down to a generous tip, a nice thick tip there. I'll put my hand there so that the yellow of the table isn't distracting you from seeing the details. So it's a really nice thick spine. That's 4 millimeters. That's just over 1/8 of an inch. Not quite 5/32. It's a big, beefy, nice heavy blade. And as I mentioned earlier, flat grind on both sides. Drop point. After the thumb riser, it dips down, stays close to level for a little while, and then does a nice slow dip to the tip. That tip is super strong. Later on in the video, I'll do the stab test into some wood, and I'll show you how strong that is. A nice grind on it, really sharp edge on this 440C. I've done a little bit of stropping, which is pretty much all I need for this knife to keep its edge going well. If I do end up dulling it, every knife eventually needs sharpening, but this thing has held the edge really, really well. Ganzo knows how to heat treat 440C. They've got the best 440C that I've ever seen anywhere. And I really, really like this steel. 20 years ago, 25, 30 years ago, 440C was the premium steel, or at least a premium steel. So it has a lot of good characteristics. So they make some better stuff these days, and much more expensive too. But this is not a bad steal. There's Ganzo's name that they've put in, nice bold letters on their knife, so you always know whose knife you're carrying. And their logo there. This is the G720, as you can see right there. I really like this big belly here. This knife, you can do those rocking cuts, the slicing all day long. If you like a bigger knife when you're skinning, you do have this really big, nice belly here. You can get some pretty good control. Choke up a little bit and put your thumb across here, and you've got some really good control. For a big knife, this thing moves very well. It's quite agile, easy to use. I really like this knife. The thumb studs are nice and beefy, just pillars that come up to, a few steps to get smaller. It's just that easy to open the knife. You just, a little push, and it opens up. I could play with this thing all day long. It doesn't have a big dramatic sound. It's got a bit of a thunk when it opens up, but it opens up really well. Let me go get that wood and I'll do that test for it. Okay, so here we are to do this test. The other way around. Yes, I'm just holding the knife like this. I absolutely trust this access lock. I know it's not smart. So other than for doing this test for really jamming it in hard, I won't be using the knife in this kind of way. I just want to demonstrate to you how superior the steel really is. So there you go, look at that. Absolutely nothing wrong with the tip at all. One of the reviewers that I watch regularly, he did a in-depth test on this knife. He had it for 2 months. He batoned with it. He cut through, thick chunks of wood. That's about 2.5 inches around, and just whacked through them with the batoning methods and cutting and all kinds of stuff. And he used it for chopping into wood, putting the 2 fingers right here and just using it as a chopper to chop into wood like that. Absolutely no problems with the knife afterwards or during. Just the odd after some vibrations. He doesn't use Loctite, so the odd time he had to tighten up the pivot, and that's all. Be careful when you lock up the pivot screws on these knives. Usually it's not a round bar through. One of the ends of the pivot has one of the sides on the pivot has a flat edge to it so that it can't turn. So that's how it locks tight. It holds with the one. So if you're trying to turn it and it's just not wanting to come, stop, try the other side, and see if that's the side that you do the adjustment on. For the life of me, I can't remember right now which side it is, or even if they're consistent on which side it is. So just take that just remember that. Okay, as we're cutting into the end here, let's talk about some sizes of this knife. This knife is total length wide open is 8¼ inches. That's about 21 centimeters. When it's closed, it's 4 3/4 inches. That's 12 centimeters. The blade is 90 centimeters, and they're measuring across the top here, across the spine. It's actually a little bit longer if you measure down this way. So 9 centimeters this way, which is right around 3.5 inches. So yeah, you've got a little over that 3.5 inches. You've got loads of knife here. Like I said, this thing's 200 grams, just over 7 ounces. This thing will work for you. I've got no problems recommending this for hard work. If you're a bushman and you like using your fixed blade knife, this is a really good backup to take along with you. Yeah, it's got a little bit of weight to it, but stick it in that backpack And, if you need it, this knife will do the hard work for you. Remember, guys, always cut towards your chum and not your thumb. Please like, subscribe, share this video with your friends. Have a great day. Bye now.